So, if you've been following me on Instagram or on the Facebook page I have, that's Jammer's Wrestling Magazine Collection. And of course, the Instagram is Jammer90210. I post these magazines each month for the year accordingly. This one is December of 93. And I do this mainly to give a vibe to see what was on the newsstand in that year of that month, right? So all the December 93 stuff that I own is on the newsstand right now, including this magazine of the WWF. It is the one with Razor Ramon on the cover with Rick Martel. This is the one where Razor wins the Intercontinental title. And I've said this before when covering the 1993 magazines. If you look back in the library, really, really horrible cover. Why not just have Razor with the IC title? But whatever, they went with this. The thing that amazes me about this magazine, however, is the bottom here. It says, a Smoky Mountain Blaze. Check out Smoky Mountain Wrestling and its stars. So yes, this is a WWF magazine, but inside, if I can find it here, yes, right there. So they have, move this over a bit. They have an article here on Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Jim Cornette, Smoky Mountain Wrestling, the exact same one. Here we see photos of such people as primetime Brian Lee, who became the Faker Taker, and of course Chains from DOA. And next to him is a Miss Tammy Lynn Fitch. Who did that become? Sunny. That's right, Sunny. That's the first time you're going to see Sunny in a WWF magazine holding the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Heavyweight Championship there. You got Bobby Blaze up there right here. That's Bobby Blaze. You got the Heavenly Bodies over on the left. You got the Steiner brothers on the right there because, yes, they did compete in Smoky Mountain Wrestling at times in that, I guess, working relationship between Jim Cornette and Vince McMahon. You got Bullet Bob Armstrong, or is it just the Bullet? We'll never know. He's got the mask on, right? It could be Bob Armstrong. There was never any proof that that was Bob Armstrong, right? It was just ironic that when Bob Armstrong wasn't around, the Bullet was there. And when the Bullet wasn't around, Bullet Bob Armstrong was around. So it's hard to say. We'll never know, right, fans? We'll never know. That's the beauty about kayfabe and just enjoying professional wrestling. And here we get some more stuff. We got the Rock and Roll Express. We got Tracy Smothers. We have Chris Candido with the, I believe those belts he's holding there are the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Junior United States Heavyweight Championship, which was like the most weirdest name for a belt. And I think the other one is that WWA title from New Jersey. I'm pretty sure that's what those two belts are. Anyways, I thought it was kind of neat, though, to see in a WWF magazine another wrestling promotion. And yeah, Smoky Mountain Wrestling wasn't on par with WCW. There's, of course not. But the fact that the WWF, to acknowledge another wrestling promotion outside of their bubble, and to actually show it within the WWF magazine is phenomenal. I don't even believe that they did that in 1997 or 96 or whatever with the USWA. USWA and WWF had a working agreement from like 92 on. There's a magazine I just read talked about Jeff Jarrett at ringside challenging Bret Hart for an Intercontinental title match the next time they came back to Tennessee. And that was in 1992 when Bret was Intercontinental Champion. So there's been a working agreement between Memphis and the WWF for years there until USWA finally faded out. Even then they had working agreements with like the other Memphis wrestling organizations. I think it was like Memphis City Wrestling or something like that. They just pretty much changed the name. USWA name died and they just had another name, and all the wrestlers who were there still competed. But with Smoky Mountain Wrestling, this was Jim Cornette's way of trying to bring back the old feel vibe wrestling that was Mid-Atlantic, championship wrestling, or that was championship wrestling from Florida and such, right? He wanted that old school vibe. And if anyone's never seen Smoky Mountain Wrestling, definitely check out that organization. I'm not lying. That was a very fun wrestling promotion to watch. You saw a lot of talent go through there that would end up becoming future superstars. Case in point, Chris Candido, who went on to become a big name in ECW. You had Chris Jericho and Lance Storm, the Thrill Seekers. They got their big break in North America through Smoky Mountain Wrestling. You saw WWE stars come in and make appearances like The Undertaker, Randy Macho Man Savage, and yes, even the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. And on top of that, you also had the Smoky Mountain Wrestling USWA feud that took place in 1995 between the two promotions. So you'll get the likes of guys like Tommy Rich and Tracy Smothers feuding with, PG-13, for example, Wolfie D and JC Ice. You get all this stuff, and you even get to see the Hardy Boys in Smoky Mountain Wrestling as jobbers. They were enhancement talent, and that's what they were at the time. They were young, so they just did what they could. And so Smoky Mountain Wrestling, definitely a very fun wrestling promotion to, look back at and watch. And even the early days of Smoky Mountain, if you go back to 1992, when it was first, I think it was 92 when it was, or 91, something like that's when it first created. It may have been 91, late 91. Jim Cornette started it or had the idea of it. You had guys like Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff who competed there, and Rugged Ronnie Garvin. And you had the Fantastics, which were at the time Bobby and Jackie Fulton. You had the Heavenly Bodies at the time, which were Sweet Stan Lane and Dr. Tom Pritchard. You even had Arn Anderson and Beautiful Bobby Eaton have their feud happen in Smoky Mountain Wrestling from WCW, because yes, before the Smoky Mountain Wrestling WWF connection, Smoky Mountain Wrestling was working with World Championship Wrestling in 1993, the early part of 93, because we had such matches as Arn Anderson teaming with the Rock and Roll Express to wrestle the Heavenly Bodies at the time, which was Stan Lane, Tom Pritchard, and Bobby Eaton. So I know this is a little crazy history there of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, but I loved it. It was a fun wrestling promotion. I used to always look forward when I was seeing it or saw it come on TV. Seeing it come on, saw it come, I don't know. It's kind of early right now. I'm just winging it as we go, and being that I'm just working off one cup of coffee right now. I think I'm doing fantastic with this. But here we go. So Smoky Mountain Wrestling, check it out on the WWE Network. It's on there. I don't think all the stuff is on there, but because they have to heavily edit it. There's a lot of real music being used at the time, right? They used real songs because they can get away with it at the time. But now, being copyright infringements and all that kind of stuff, they can't do that. So it is what it is. They're going to edit it pretty heavily, but the wrestling is still fun and exciting. But if you want to watch original versions of Smoky Mountain Wrestling, they do exist out there, because I found them many years ago, downloaded them, burnt them to DVDs, and got them. And I think I still got them to this day. I didn't get all the shows. I just got the episode. I mean, if you go online, you'll actually find a website that has like every match, like every show of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. And it's detailed to who had interviews and who won and who lost. So I got the ones I remembered. I even got the ones that had, and this is a mind-blown thing here, Jake the Snake Roberts was in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. He too, a former Smoky Mountain Wrestling heavyweight champion, who defeated the Dirty White Boy Tony Anthony for that title in 1994. So yes, go back on the network, check out what's there. If you like it and it interests you, find the original copies. I'm sure they're on YouTube somewhere. I'm guessing someone has to have a YouTube channel that has Smoky Mountain Wrestling matches or shows uploaded. But yeah, they're super fun. And definitely don't sleep on this wrestling organization. It was just really enjoyable to watch back in the day. All right, so thank you for watching this video, and until I do my next one, I'll talk to you guys later.